Today on Black Girl Diagnosed, we are joined by a phenomenal guest, Chante Douglas. Chante is a proud single mother to her amazing son, Levi, and together they live in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Her journey into advocacy began when Levi was diagnosed as autistic, a moment that inspired her to not only stand for him, but for children and adults across communities. I'm so excited to welcome Chante to the show today to share her story, her advocacy, and her wisdom with us. So, welcome to Black Girl Diagnosed, and thank you again for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. It's just an honor. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And also, I just want to say, I really appreciate the love that you've always shown me since we connected on social media. It's not, it's kind of rare that like you find somebody who genuinely supports you. So I just want to thank you for that before we get into everything.
You're so welcome. I just love everything that, your platform stands for, and it's just refreshing to just get it from a perspective of someone who is actually autistic, who continues to live that life and understands that more of your voice needs to be heard. And as a mom, I just feel like I need to, in order to be a better advocate for my son, I have to take wisdom from adults who have lived through their childhood, their teenage years, and early adult years of being on the spectrum. So, yeah, thank you for always spreading knowledge that I'm learning something new every time I see something on your page. So, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, and sometimes it's also rare to some parents of autistic children, they don't really respect autistic adults. So whenever I come across
Mhm.
the parents of an autistic child, I'm always really grateful, that they're cordial because some of them can get,
I've
really,
seen that. Yep.
yeah, really disrespectful. But okay, so
Mhm.
let's get into things. So some of the things you wanted to speak about is the lack of quality education for Black neurodivergent children. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so I mean the number one thing I can talk about is just my own experience
Mhm.
here in Philadelphia with the school district, what I've gone through with my son Levi. In the beginning, like when he was coming out of early intervention into kindergarten, it was a train wreck. The very first thing, and I just had this conversation with my family the other day, the very first thing the child psychologist from the school district said to me on the phone, she's like, "Yeah, I'm just calling to schedule an evaluation before, he starts kindergarten." "Oh, okay, I'm driving to work." And I'm like, so yeah, I'm always open and, willing to collaborate. But the first thing this lady said was, "So what are some things you want to work on with Levi so that he's normal?" And I almost got in an accident because I was
Wow.
like, "What did you just say?" And I'm not going to curse on here, but yeah, I said some very colorful language.
This is under the explicit category, so you can curse, and I have such a potty mouth, so fire away.
Like, what the hell did you just say? Like, normal. I'm like, what do you mean by that? So she heard the tone of my voice, right? She's like, "Oh, I didn't really mean." Yes, she did. And I said, "I'm pretty sure you have said this to other parents who feel as though that's okay because they're trying to correct their kid," which that's another thing I'm very different from other parents because what I see a lot of times on social media, and I'm pretty sure you've seen it too, with neurotypical parents who have neurodivergent. Sorry, I live near an airport, so if you hear something, that's a plane flying over. Um, a lot of times you see a lot of neurotypical parents who have neurodivergent kids, and they're so hyper focused on making them present as normal, quote unquote. And that kind of irritates me because I've always looked at my child as a blessing. He's born the way he's supposed to be, and he's not an experiment. He's not something that needs to be corrected. But I found early in our journey that the main thing with the team, with with her, it was like this word normal. And I said, well, we don't live in that arena of normal. We live how we're supposed to live. Like we're unapologetically us in this household, me and him, and the world has to conform to him. He don't have to conform to the world, and that's how I'm raising him. I'm raising him. He's 12 now.
I love
That any room that you walk into, you deserve to be in that room. Like no one is going to make you feel anything less than who you are because you're my child. And I'm not going to try not to cry while I just get emotional with that because it's
yeah.
like these are kids at the end of the day, no matter what. they're diagnosed with. They're still children. They still need to be loved. They still need to be nurtured. They still need to be respected. They still need to have their space respected. You know what I'm saying? So that was, I went off because fast forward, I called a meeting, and this was one of the first schools that I had to start cursing people out. So we're sitting there, and she's in the meeting. She didn't even look at me because the whole time I'm looking at her and I'm like, I'm not even paying attention to the principal or anybody else. I'm just looking at her like, why would you say something like that on the phone? And then when she saw how I was talking to the principal, because I cursed the principal out because I'm like, your school's a train wreck. And
Good.
she's like, well, I have experience with autism. I said, as far as what? I said, the classroom is all the way down at the end of the hallway away from everyone else, and no one seems to know where this classroom is. And at the time, in the beginning, like Levi was nonverbal up until he was about 4. So by the time we got to kindergarten, he's still trying to get language, piecing, sentences together. Behaviors were still there because the language wasn't there. Like, and I keep telling people, how would you feel if you can't talk and you have no other way to communicate? Because even back then, tablets and communication devices weren't as prevalent as it is now. So like, how do you expect these kids to communicate? If he's hot, yeah, he's going to take his clothes off. If he's uncomfortable, he's going to hit you. You're not giving him a break, which I found that out later. Once we got to first grade, the teacher was lying, trying to,
No.
and that's another issue where I was very adamant from the beginning because I have a Black child. I'm
Yes.
Black. I'm a Black mother. I have a Black child, but I also know how the school district does that pipeline to prison BS too with our kids, no matter if they're in special education or not. But you got to be present in these schools because they will play in your face every time. And I felt like the teacher, because she had tenure, I didn't give a damn about that. Like I called a meeting on her too, and I told her, I said, "You're very condescending." I said, "I don't know if other parents have brought that to your attention, but you will not talk to me any type of way because I don't talk to people like that. I don't come off automatically with an attitude or trying to be nasty or think I know more than you. I meet people where they meet me at. You know what I'm saying?" So she was like, well, we just sent the form home and we just saw you were being non-compliant. I said, no, you sent a form home that was permission to reevaluate, and we just did one. I said, see, I'm not one of those other parents. I look stuff up. I continue to educate myself. I said, we literally just did one. And you're not supposed to send those forms home unless we've had a conversation already. We've already had an IEP meeting, or we've just had a quick little meeting about why you feel as though Levi needs to be reevaluated. You don't send that home like it's one of those, can you update your address and who's picking up Levi? Like it's not one of those forms. No, I'm not signing it until we have a discussion. Oh, okay. She had all her supervisors there. They called somebody from the school district. I don't give a damn. Listen, bring the superintendent because I'm gonna tell whoever was the superintendent at the time, it's a train wreck. Y'all don't give a damn about these kids, even in general education. It's a train wreck in the city. And the fact that, if you don't show up for your kid, if you're not that parent that is going to push back, they're just going to give them the bare minimum. And then later on, I found out the IEP was messed up, which led me to with the lawsuit against the school district because with speech, which I had no idea, there's 3 areas of speech that the speech therapist is supposed to evaluate um the child, and then based on that, then that's how the speech therapy. Well, he was only getting evaluated with one area of speech, so that was also prolonging his progression with speech therapy. So I'm like, if parents don't know, and rightfully, how are we all supposed to understand this, the jargon that these professionals throw at us, right? And I used to say in these meetings, I don't care if everybody has a master's degree at this table. I have a PhD when it comes to Levi. So any questions that you have concerning my child, revert back to me because you're looking at him as a case number. So like I always try to tell parents, just be proactive, ask questions, have a support system. Unfortunately, I didn't have that when I went into these IEP meetings. It was just me by myself. But this is the reason why I'm back in school now and I'm like halfway done towards my associate's degree, but eventually I want to be a social worker because I feel like if I can become the person that I needed in the beginning of the journey, it would have made things so much better instead of having people who you're not raising a child that is neurodivergent. You're not a single parent, you're not Black. A lot of these families are in low income areas of the city. You live in a very, rich area of the city that gets, resources and everything from the school district. So trying to relate to your clients is very difficult if you never experienced that. So I feel like I'm going to bring something special to being a social worker because I've been through. I still get services for him. We have a case manager. We have a support team. He still has his IEP team. And even as he's getting older, I'm looking ahead as he's transitioning with puberty and becoming a teenager next year. So I'm constantly looking for things in the city to better support him so that I just never want him to look and be like, damn, my mom, I didn't know this or that. I just don't want him to feel like I failed him. That's always been like my driving force as his mom. I just never want to fail him. And I've never been the one to be like, I want him talking by time he's 5, and then by time he's, 8, I want him doing this. I told them, like, when he was nonverbal, when he was going through his evaluation at 3, I said, "If he never speaks a word for the rest of his life, that will not make me look at him any different than how I feel about him right now." I said, "That is my child. That is who I brought into this world." I said, "If he decides one day that he wants to start talking, great. If he never utters a word, we're still gonna rock out. We're still gonna be happy, and I'm still gonna continue to support him."
Yeah, right. And you made such a good point about and I just spoke about this on my Instagram page and it got a lot of pushback, but I really don't care. About how Black autistic children are always policing their behavior, and they don't do that to the white children. They see a white
Mhm.
child and they're met with empathy. They see a Black child and it's just like they're punished, and they don't need punishment. They need empathy. So this is
Right.
just one of the things that I've been speaking about lately. And I remember I wrote an article speaking about the children in underserved communities. They don't have the resources that people of a higher social status have, and
Mhm.
a lot of people feel like it doesn't matter, but it absolutely matters. Medical gaslighting is real. Medical bias is real. I just
Right.
blocked somebody on LinkedIn today because I wrote an article about why white people shouldn't compare their experience to black people, and she's like, "Oh, it's not a contest. That's not the point. It's not about y'all right now. This is about
Right.
our struggles, and you'll never understand our struggles because it's ultra cultural thing." So
Right.
you just made such a great point about the children in underserved communities and the services that they receive.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
So I love that you want to touch on the current administration because I am so sick of RFK. He has such a hateable face to me, and I am so sick of him.
Yeah.
Every time we hear about autism now, I feel like we were moving into a safer space and a better space. And then as soon as he came into his position, he brought negative attention to autism. And now everybody's back on that vaccines cause autism. Tylenol causes autism. And I'm just like, nope,
Mhm.
because the neurocognitive style of autism predates Tylenol and it predates vaccines.
Thank you. Yes. And that's always my argument, and no one can ever have a comeback when I say, like autistic people have been here since the dawn of time, right? Like they've been on this earth way before vaccines were created. I said, so explain about Beethoven and Mozart and Albert Einstein and like all of these famous prestigious people in history who they couldn't classify because they didn't know what it was. But if you look back as far as their behaviors, it was very on a neurodivergent umbrella. You know what I'm saying? RFK, when I seen that clip come across my timeline, I was like, here we go. I'm like,
Yeah,
we were making so much progress, and
sure.
now you have that group of parents, they're like, well, no, we deserve to know some answers and all this stuff. I said, do y'all understand that eventually your kids will grow up and see these comments on social media and they see their parents talking about them as if they're experiments trying to figure out what's wrong with them and like we're trying to cure them? Do you know how disgusting that sounds? Like, do y'all don't even be this is the problem that I have with what our RFK did number one, he pushed us back a good 10, 15 years now. Like the last 10, 15 years of what actual autistic advocates have been doing, parents who are genuine allies, not in here like, oh, I'm just trying to make, social media content with my kid. Look, he's having a meltdown. Like, that's a whole other topic that I can't stand on social media.
It is. Some people use their autistic children as props,
Yeah,
and
yep,
a lot, and I try to stay away from those type of autistic spaces because
yeah,
they're I don't even know what word to use for them, but they're fucking horrible, and they
right,
use their autistic children as props, and it doesn't help, and especially with the current administration because policy and leadership influence the public perception. So
exactly.
the harmful narratives and information it set us back so much, but I do try to stay away from the autistic spaces with the parents who use their autistic child as props, or they make them being an autism mom their entire personality, or they're trying to fix their child. And there's nothing wrong with your child, they're just different. We have different brains. This is how we have to
Right,
navigate the world, just differently. It doesn't mean that we're broken.
right. Yeah, and also what I kept saying on social media, I said the domino effect of what's going on now, we will start seeing it years from now. Like from this moment on, it's going to be such a bad connotation to a lot of parents. Like, oh well, now I don't want to even get my kid diagnosed. And then if they go undiagnosed, that means services that they could have had to help them, to support them through school, through life. Like you're boxing out so much that helps children like Levi and so many other amazing kids so that they don't have to struggle. It's like it just blows my mind. And I'm like, the trickle down effect is going to be monumental. We won't see it now, but just the other things, like he's violating HIPAA rights. Now you're going into the Medicare or Medicaid database, which majority is people that are minorities. A huge of us is Black that receive Medicaid services, like my son. So now you're going into trying to find everyone for what? Now you want a whole database of registered, like this doesn't, and I kept saying this on social media. I'm like, this isn't giving like Germany, Hitler vibes. Like,
Yeah, he's like orange foundation face. He's
yeah,
just totally he's like a dictator, and
right,
this whole country is becoming a dictatorship, and I've never
right,
had so much anxiety and as I've had since he's been in office. I've been taking
yeah,
so much Xanax. I know my doctor is probably like, "Are you abusing this drug?" But it's a get up every day and have to read about something that you are in a negative way.
right.
It does take a toll on you. And kids go to school, other kids are cruel. I'm pretty sure
Mm-hmm.
there's new jokes out there now since autism is being shown in such a negative light. So they don't
Right,
understand that, which we can go right into the mental health part of it. The stigmas within the communities, like the Black communities too,
right,
because I dealt with that stigmas in the Black community. Recently I've had like a few, I don't know why, but Black men coming on my videos and they're like, well, this is the Black mother's fault, and just saying ignorant things. And I'm just like, you guys are not helping the cause. You guys are not
right.
helping break the stigmas in the Black community, because there's already a stigma for mental health, and there's been some steps for that, but there's even a bigger stigma for autism. So how do you feel that the mental health industry and the autistic industry, not industry, but the autism, they collide, like, and have to work together?
Yeah, and you touched on a very important point of just how within our community, how we view mental illnesses and mental health in general, and how it's not prioritized, especially for our kids. And I'm a big advocate. Me and my son, we do family therapy every 2 weeks. He went through trauma therapy when he was younger because of an incident that happened. Um, yeah, that's a whole other podcast episode. But a family member was neglectful, and I had to call DHS on her. Um, but they turned around and did an investigation on me, which I thought was hilarious. I said, "You can come in my home. Do you see like anything in distress? Do you see my child like look like he?" No, but Yeah. I still want that case to be yeah, and it was a joke because, like, the social worker was like, "Well, we're just gonna close the case out because, it was just an accident." "Oh, okay, whatever."
That's terrible.
But
They
yeah, and
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 I
and the
went through something similar. We actually had like this is pre-diagnosis when everybody just thought I was weird, thought I was different, thought I was awkward. Um, the school, I guess they read that as abuse because they called social services, they called CPS, they came to our house, and I was just like,
Mhm.
I didn't understand why they were there because I always had everything I wanted. We were always clean.
Yeah,
We were always fed. We had more than we what we needed. So I was just so confused by all of that. And some of it was also politics. My dad is a community activist, but um cases like that, I feel like people who do things like that, um I feel like they should be criminally charged.
yeah, exactly. And because of that incident, my son was diagnosed with an anxiety disorder, so we were going through trauma therapy for that. But once again, I was back at the school because he had a trauma response on top of a meltdown, and I had to break it down to the principal. And I'm like, I don't even have a degree in any of this, but I also have PTSD. I also have anxiety. So I know that portion of relating to my son as far as how you feel when you have anxiety or you're just overwhelmed, right? And I'm telling the principal, I said, my son also has an anxiety disorder that he was just recently um diagnosed with. And we're going through trauma therapy right now. I said, but he also needs support at school because this is supposed to be a safe place. I can't be at 15 different places at once. I wish I could clone myself and be at school with him all day to make sure he's good. But unfortunately, I can't do that. So I'm relying on people who are in this profession to not only educate our children, but to keep them safe. Um, I don't understand like what the lack of comprehension is of what I'm trying to, explain to y'all. And she's like, "Well, we're not a mental health facility." No, you're not, but you're also um a building of learning, and also this is supposed to be a safe space. So while our children are here, you are responsible for them, and also to make sure that they get accommodations if they need that. Um,
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like because I had an incident when I was in third grade, I got choked by a teacher. She was the substitute teacher, and I'm just gonna go really fast with this because I want to get into the next topic with you. But I'm a visual learner, and she didn't understand my learning style. So by the end of the day, her having to give me the extra help, she was just like, "I'm tired of you," and she just choked me. So, one, I was a little black girl. She was a white entitled woman, and she didn't understand my learning style. And I feel like if you can't shift and go from a visual learner, and to somebody who just needs a little bit extra help, then you don't need to be teaching. And then this is also just why I love how um, you don't try to fix your son and you advocate for him to just be himself. So, you want
mhm.
to talk about that?
Yeah, I can talk about my son for hours. I'm just so proud of him. He's a seventh grader this year. He's so outgoing. He's so funny. Um, but yeah, it really stemmed from conflicts I was having with family members because they were harping on, well, he needs speech therapy, he needs to start talking, he needs to do this, I'm like, he don't need to do anything but just be him. And my job as his mom is to support him. And the thing is, I said, let's talk about this. If the closest person to him, the person that he loves the most, is looking at him as a disappointment, what is that going to do to his psyche as he's growing up? That the one person that's supposed to care about him the most is hyper fixated on trying to make him something that he's not. He wasn't put on this earth to be like anybody else. And once again, I reiterate that is my blessing. You know what I'm saying? Like God made him how he was supposed to be.
And
And that's it.
I love how you use your creativity to advocate, because beyond your advocacy, you're an accomplished writer and the creator of The
Yes.
Adventures of EchoBoy and ABC Girl, and I do own one of
Yes.
your books, and I love it,
Yes.
and I should have it with me, but
That's
so
okay.
How has storytelling helped you with the process and your experiences to inspire others?
First, thank you for your support because I was so hyped when you had posted video with the book. So thank you for the support. Yeah, I've been a big nerd when it comes to superhero movies, and the year that really inspired me was two big movies that came out in 2018 was the Black Panther and Into the Spider-Verse with Miles Morales. And that was the year that Levi really gravitated towards Spider-Man. But when he see Miles, like this black kid, curly hair, and Levi had the same like curly high top at the time too. So he was sitting there like mesmerized, like, wow, my favorite superhero looks like me. And I was like, you know what? I don't even see a lot of children's books with black superhero kids, but also I didn't see enough representation of kids who are autistic. So I'm like,
Exactly, exactly. That's why I wrote my book, and I did mine especially for girls because I didn't see a lot of representation for black autistic girls, but I just love that you used your creativity to advocate for your son. I think is a beautiful thing.
thank
So,
you.
just to wind it down now, do you have any recent projects that you'd like to share?
Right now, I'm just focusing on school. I think right now I'm meant to get into this field of social work because of what's needed out in our communities, and especially with this administration, the damage that they're going to be doing for years to come, that's going to directly hit our communities first, our most vulnerable communities, and unfortunately, the forgotten communities as well.
Yeah.
I just think the work I'm putting in now is going to pay off once I graduate. And first is going to be my associate's degree, and then I want to get my bachelor's and my master's because I want to be well knowledge and licensed and be
That's
in the trenches helping, not just our kids, but the parents, the adults that are on the spectrum, other adults who have other disabilities that, they're just not getting the support and they need representation, in this field. And I can't wait to get to work.
I can't wait to see what comes from that. And is there anything that you want people to know and take away from this interview?
That our children matter. Our children are not just a number on, a case. They're not a case number. Yeah, if you're watching this and your child is newly diagnosed, number one, that whole I'm mourning the loss of what my child could be. Please stop saying that because your child is your child. You have not lost anything. If anything, you've gained so much. But you got to look at it from that point of view. These our kids are just beyond amazing. I learn something new every single day from my son. If anything, he's made me a better person of how to look at the world, not give a fuck. I'm going to be unapologetically me. When we go out, he does his happy stemmings. I don't tell him, "Oh, stop doing that." No, rock out. You need to
Yeah,
regulate
that's
your
right.
brain.
And me, I'm a full grown millennial and I still STEM. I'm not gonna like reduce myself, even though it's not always safe for Black people to STEM, but that's another
Hmm.
part.
Yes.
But thank you again. Where can everyone find you if you want to be found?
Yes, I am on Instagram, EchoBoy and ABC Girl. I do have a Facebook page, The Adventures of EchoBoy and ABC Girl. You can follow me on Twitter, Levi's Mom 30. Yeah, and I'm always on social media.
Okay, that's great. And thank you so much again for sharing your personal story and wisdom with me today and to our listeners. And to the listeners, thank you for tuning in to Black Girl Diagnose. Your presence and support means everything. So until next time, take care and keep advocating with love.